morning. You are listening to Blue Collar Tribe Podcast. I'm your host, Splash, and that intro music was brought to you by Tyler the Painter. I love it. Thank you so much, brother, for that jam out there. And to my first sponsor, Graco, thank you for supporting Splash and the Blue Collar Tribe Podcast. It means a lot. If you aren't using Graco sprayers, you're missing out. They're the best of the best. And now they're backed by DeWalt FlexVolt, which is a great system that I love using. And I can get about 3 to 4 gallons, depending on your PSI and pressure and tip size, out of all that we spray. So you get a lot going without having electricity there and just having your batteries there. And they charge really quick when you do need to charge them. So visit your local retailer and ask them about the Graco battery operated systems. Now that that's out of the way, I am so excited for my guest. I have followed you, Kathleen, and your husband and the podcast for many years. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Busy body. You're one of the busiest people.
Yes.
I've ever talked to.
It is very, very busy here. And, it's a full-time being a mom and having a family, but, having 2 businesses and then trying to manage my husband and keep him in line. It is a full-time gig for sure.
As the husband, I'd say we're probably the worst to manage, but it makes sense.
Yeah, when you work with your spouse and you're kind of both in a managerial role, it's kind of like who gets to say what, but we do all right. We do probably better than most of the time. There are moments, I will admit, that the claws do come out and he goes, okay, I give up. Just but we're good.
Well, I'm sure you and my wife could have loads of wine drinking over conversations of, can you believe my husband did this?
Yeah.
Or usually it starts like, he thought this was a great idea. That's
my wife. It always starts that way. Yeah, Brent will be the first to tell you that I keep his feet on the ground. He comes to me with all the crazy ideas and I tell him whether they're wonderful and they're great or they're stupid, and we're absolutely not doing that.
Well, you segue. Has he ever done anything that you're like, no? And he's done it and you've been like, I'm sure you've had both sides.
Yes. In business, we're pretty good. We get each other's opinion and we're pretty respectful before we get into anything. However, we've been together 15 years, and in our personal life, there have been many things that he has done that I have not agreed with, especially, with our HVAC and plumbing company and handling employees. He will be the first to tell you that he is the nice guy. And I am not. I have to be the disciplinarian in our home and in our business. So that's kind of where those lines get crossed a little bit. But he behaves for the most part. He's pretty good.
Nice. Well, for those that don't know you, let's give you a proper introduction.
Sure.
Tell Blue Collar Tribe who you are, where they can find you, and we'll get into what you do. I love what you do.
I do it all. So my name is Kathleen Ridley, also known as the one and only Tool Wife, and I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia. My husband and I, we have a kind of a platform, more mainly known as the Tool Pros. Kind of Tool Wife is this kind of spinoff brand, if you will. We also have a plumbing and HVAC company. My husband has been a licensed contractor for many years. He's been in the HVAC industry for almost 20 years now. My father-in-law has had a plumbing company for 31 plus years. So we've been around, we've been doing it. But yeah, we kind of have created this social media brand on top of our trade company, and it's been great. It's been really awesome, and it's been amazing meeting all the amazing people and all these amazing personalities in the trade community.
Personalities is definitely the right word to use in blue collar.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds, but it's great. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about the trades, is that you get a little bit of everything. It's like, I think people that aren't familiar with the skilled trade industry think we're all the same. They think we're like, Billy Bob in a truck, but it's like, there's all types of people. I mean, yeah, there is some of that, but there's really highly successful, smart, intelligent people. I know a few of, there's a few ladies that are like, they call themselves blue collar bougie. And I kind of love that. it is very eclectic. That is the trades. I think that there's a little bit of everything everywhere you look.
Yeah, that's my experience in the trades. I have found that every walk of life comes from them.
Hmm.
You know? How did you guys well, getting into social media is just one of those things. I think for me, I kind of fell into it, with Graco sponsoring me and doing
Hmm.
work with Little Giant Ladders, and I'm really now focused more so with new tool creators, inventors of tools. You
Hmm.
guys, and I know I follow you guys. I've kind of been off social media for a minute, but now that I'm back and 100% doing this, I'm catching up now on some things. And I saw you
Hmm.
guys did a pack out box. I'm wearing one of the flex shirts. Great product.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, you did a video, your husband did a video, but let's pull
Hmm.
the curtain back a little bit because this
Okay.
isn't it's something that I think that we fall into with the personalities that we have.
Hmm.
But do you believe that it's more of a passion? Like when you started doing the social media, not for the HVAC, but with
Hmm.
the Tool Pro,
The tool
um,
stuff.
the tool stuff, how did that, if you can share with the audience a little bit, like how does that come to where you realize there's traction going?
So for me, well, I mean, actually, I'm going to back up. I'll break it down in kind of two parts. So Brent started the Tool Pros podcast. It's been about 5 years ago. And it was basically just a hobby. It was to him and his co host Billy to sit down once a week and just kind of, talk shop essentially. And the name, the Tool Pros, basically came from not saying that they knew everything, but that in this group, this community, you have individual pros in every which way. So, to start talking about tools and different skilled trade related things like that. Um, Later on, he decided that he needed to get on social media, that was really where we could not only promote the podcast, but continue to grow the brand. And so he initially, when Brent got on Instagram, he didn't know anything. He didn't know what a hashtag was. I just had a personal account. We were not at all involved in social media tool reviews. However, going back to prior to the podcast, and I'm talking, back in 2010, 2009, Brent was always doing HVAC centric tool reviews on a website called HVAC Talk. And that was back in the day before you could just, pull your phone out and take a picture. This was writing out paragraphs after work and reviewing just HVAC tools. And so he had a little bit of a background in that coming into social media. So, and really essentially, like, because we have an HVAC and plumbing company, tools are a big part of our life. So it was an obvious choice when we started making posts on social media to use that as content because number one, tools are cool. Like there's so many different things that you can talk about that so many different genres, if you will. So you're endless in terms of creativity. You're not boxed into one thing. And that was one of the reasons that we decided to go with Tool Pros instead of being, boxed into just something HVAC related because it's so much broader.
And
And
it
you
was
know
very
what?
smart that you guys
Mhm.
did that. Extremely. I mean, you guys have 170,000 followers, I think, on Instagram.
He does, and I believe the YouTube is slowly growing. We've been YouTube, Instagram has been our baby. We're trying to keep it, even between the other outlets. I think he's up to 200 some odd thousand on TikTok and 60. I think it's no, I retract that. It's 40 something on YouTube. But anyway, we've got a good little following, which is cool. Um, so with the passion side of things is that you there's so much that you can do with it. And so this is how we make our money. This is our livelihood. And so sharing that with somebody is really special. And kind of, going to me personally as a woman, one of the reasons that I wanted to start the Tool Wife brand is to make it approachable for women that aren't necessarily in the skilled trade industry. I originally wanted to kind of branch out for trade spouses. That was the root of it. But also to make, because I mean, look at me. I got long nails, I got blonde hair, I got big lips. That's me. I am who I am, but I wanted to make it approachable for women like me to go, "Hey, I can pick up that impact. I can do that. I can go fix that." because it's something that we all can do. And if you're interested in it, you shouldn't be intimidated by it. And so that was something that was important to me going into creating this brand. And then also, it's fun, it's exciting. And the tool industry itself is so much more than what it is at face value. I think when you get into, for me personally, like excites me is the marketing aspect of it and the way that these companies structure, marketing campaigns and their products and what all takes place before it goes to market. There's so many facets of it. And really, like I said, it's endless in what you can share in your content.
Yeah. I love the woman part of this. I mean, I
Hmm.
having a spouse, she's not blue collar. I mean, she can do, when it comes to painting in the skill set
Hmm.
of what I'm a contractor as, she can kick ass. She knows what she's doing.
Hmm.
She can spray. She knows all those things. And following you as I followed you for, I feel like since the beginning of, I listened to your husband's podcast a few times and, seeing what you guys are doing. Um, it was a time period within my business that my wife was like, "Hey, do I want to be involved with you?" She loves what she does for work, but it was the balance. She decided not to. But she's actually one that found your page, like, "Hey, look, there's a woman out here doing these tools. Like, should I?" I'm like, "Yeah, be my
Hmm.
guest." But you've really taken it and ran with it, Kathleen. That's why I love. I think in the trades, no matter what trades you are, we all talk shit about one another, whether it's the
Oh yeah,
plumbers, the
totally.
HVACs, the
Yeah.
painters. But someone outside of that realm steps up and says something, then it's like, "Oh, wait, hold on. Now you
Well,
got all
it,
the
it
trades."
it's like that family dynamic where, can we cuss on here? It's like
Absolutely.
you can talk shit about your brother, but don't anybody else fuck with them because that's my
Yeah,
family. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I think that you really do get that in the trade community.
yeah, like, you were I'm gonna give you the label from my perspective, like, you're the OG of the females. It's like, "Hey, I'm here. I
Mhm.
You've empowered
I
yourself,"
appreciate
which
that.
is so beautiful to see, from this feminine side. Like, you've taken this
Mhm.
skill set for years that, let's be real, it's been dominated, via magazines and Bob
Yeah.
Vila. Like, I mean, I remember watching these shows with my dad. Like, there weren't a lot of
Mhm.
women on there talking about it.
Mm-mm.
Now on Instagram, like, you're that OG. You're like, "Hey, I'm gonna show you that I can use a basic drill, I can use a hammer drill, I can use a
Mhm.
hacksaw." Like, you were doing, what did you do? I don't even know. So, like, pardon me for the ignorance
No,
of not
you're good.
knowing
You're
HVAC,
good.
but, like, you drilled into, like, this a tin foil, like it was a metal thing, you put a plate on it, and
Oh, the duct board,
yes,
installing the outcoax. Yeah.
I had
Yeah, and
no
I mean,
fucking idea. I'm like, "God, this woman would kick my ass if I stepped on her job site."
well, and it's funny because it's like, for me, I'm not in the field every day, and I've always wanted to be really transparent about that because, I'm not on a job site. Like that's Brent's thing. Now, if I needed to go and be, that person, absolutely sign me up. I'm there, nails and all, which, it's funny because like you said, women, we go, people are like, "Oh, well, you can't do that," or I feel like you have to be a certain way to be on a job site. And it's like, "No, I can go and I can still dominate and be me. I don't have to be less feminine to be a presence in that arena." And, I always felt like it was really, really important in my brand to stay true to that because like the number one thing, the internet's brutal. People talk so much shit. And when you put yourself out there, you have to have very, very, very thick skin. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you have nails. You have, go do some more Botox." It's just like people want to rip you down. And it's like, I don't care. That's fine. I can do a lot of shit with these long nails that most people can't do with regular hands. Like, and I didn't want women to feel like they needed to change themselves to be in those spaces because I feel like with the trade industry, a lot of women feel like they have to be hyper masculine to excel in a trade career. And I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like there are going to be those men on a job site that are going to say shit that's, it's just kind of misogynistic for lack of better words. But I don't feel like you should let those people stop you. And I've said this a lot. I've had this conversation a lot because I don't like to be categorized as like, I wouldn't say like, oh, like I'm a, feminist. Like I'm not, I don't like to portray myself that way. I guess that you could call it that, but I don't. Only because of the fact that, you know, I truly believe that men that are comfortable with who they are and that they do their things well, they're not going to be intimidated by you, even if you are a woman, because they can be able to excuse me, they can be able to, see that you know what you're doing too, and that they're going to see the value that you bring to the equation instead of taking away from it. And I feel like that's important message to get out there to women that are either just, wanting to get into the trade industry, number one, or just at a base level of going into Home Depot and buying your own, tool set. Like you can go do those things. You don't need anybody to hold your hand, and you can still be who you are while doing it.
Yeah, well, you're doing a beautiful thing. You're breaking the barrier down. It has to start somewhere. You started a while ago, and you're continuing to do it.
Mhm,
So, I want to say thank you, and I mean that 100% organic. Like, thank you because it's important. I have a daughter. I
mhm,
have no idea what my kids are going to do when they grow up, but I'll tell you what. I can see my daughter wanting to be a painter and having that attitude, like, you know what, move over. I'll climb that 30-foot ladder, but still be feminine, her nails done,
mhm.
whatever she's into at that time. So it
Yeah.
it means a lot. Like I said, my wife is badass. You're a hashtag blue collar baddie. Like that's what you are. Like at the end of the day, you're blue collar, you're to the core, you know what it takes. But speaking of job sites,
Mhm,
having a husband wife combination, like I feel for you guys it's different. For my wife and I, it's been a little bit different because she's never truly been 100% on the job sites or 100% on the
mhm,
business of splash painting or
mhm,
splash comedia with what we're doing. She's supportive, but I think
mhm.
the dynamic's a little bit different for you and your husband because you are there. But you have to hear stories.
Oh, yeah.
So
Um,
the audience, blue collar tribe member, like if you're part of the blue collar tribe, like you have a story, and I know that you have some. I'd love to hear a story of like
mhm.
you can't believe it happened, but it fucking happened.
Well, okay, so I have a few, but the first one that really does come to mind actually does not involve me being on the job site, but this is more of I guess, trade wife position. That my husband and we still laugh about this, and it's been several years ago. So, he is an HVAC and plumbing technician, and he still works in the field, even though we have a business. He is in a truck every day running service. And when we relocated up here from Savannah, and we had opened the HVAC branch of the current business we have now. So he was very hands-on. He was him and one other guy. And we had a customer call in, said, I have this issue. It was a no heat call. And he goes out to this job site, and it's, someone's home. And that's the interesting part about doing service work is that you're going into people's homes all day long. And sometimes you know these customers and you have a rapport. Sometimes you're walking into a complete stranger's environment. So you don't really know what you're going to get. And in this case, so my husband arrived at this job, and about, I'd say 5 minutes after being there, he went out to his truck and he called me, and he said, "Hey, I'm sending you this address. And if you don't hear from me in 2 hours, I want you to call me. And if I don't call you back, I want you to like know where I am and possibly send the authorities to this location." And I'm like, "What in the fuck are you talking about?" Like, being at home, I'm with the kids. I'm like, what are you going on? Like, what? Thinking like, and so he goes and he does the call. And then of course I'm like texting him furiously throughout the service, going like, "What is going on? What are you talking about?" Because he didn't give me a lot to go on. So he
As a
calls
good
me after
husband would. That's how we
exactly.
do it.
Just give me enough information to worry, right? Just don't tell me the whole story. So he calls me later and he tells me, now, my husband is, he's not a huge guy, but he's, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's not a little dude. Definitely can handle himself. He's thrown a few punches in his life, whether he likes to admit it or not. And he's definitely not a shy personality. I mean, Brent can make friends with anybody. Like he's just Mr. Social Butterfly. However, this individual, he had a furnace in his basement, And he was like, hey, I want to show you. But it's just, when you meet somebody, the vibe's off, like, creepy, like Silence of the Lambs vibes.
Oh shit.
So he leads him down into the basement, and my husband's like, oh, this is a little weird, but okay. Because, you've been into a million basements, but when something's off, something's off. And he's standing behind him the whole time. And as he's, looking around, he's looking at the unit, and he's kind of looking around at what's around him. And there's all these anatomy books. And it's like just kind of stacked up in various places. It's dark, it's dusty. And this guy's just kind of standing around, like kind of watching him. And just like the vibe was off, And so he leaves, and he's like, God, he's like, I was thinking that guy was going to hit me over the head and like, cut me up into little pieces. And it was funny because, Brent's so not that way. So for him to be like, here's the address, like, I need you, like he was going on a blind date or something, like, he met somebody on Tinder. But yeah, that one definitely sticks out in my mind. And the funny part is that fast forward a few months later, we decided that we were not going to be servicing that location anymore just because the guy was weird. Yeah. Well, our office lady, unknowingly scheduled another service call and sent my husband and one of our other technicians back. And when they walked in, they were like, oh shit, it's this guy again, But I mean, everything worked out fine, of course. But it was just one of those things where you're like, this doesn't feel right, but I'm in the basement and I have to be professional. It's not like you can tell the customer, oh, hey, so you're really fucking weird and I'm not comfortable, I'm going to leave, so that was an interesting service call for sure. But that's the one that sticks out in my mind the best.
Man, I think as blue collars, we've all had that, a little bit of that experience, like, what the hell? And that's a danger. Like, honestly, like, I'm glad he's safe and good, smart on him. I'm gonna have a beer with him tonight, like telling him, like, hey, bro, leave the wife hanging, because that's the way it is. Like, your mind is in such a rush. Like, I just need to let somebody know. Like my best friend, he's a worrywart, and he listens to this, so I'm gonna call him out. If I go outside of the area that I service, he wants to know. He's like, hey, I need a special ringtone. I like on his phone, I have a special ringtone. If he doesn't hear from me in like 2 hours, he's worse than my wife, honestly. I love him to death, but he's been with me though. So from his perspective, like he's been out to what I call like the area of like, what are we doing here? We've never worked here. So
yeah. No, well, he's looking out for you. He knows, he gets it. So everybody needs that person. I am my husband's person, but I don't always want to be, because sometimes you're just like, I don't want to know. Just don't tell me, please.
Something happened. Well, Kathleen, I want to continue this. Let's get to my sponsor real quick, and I want to hear about some of your favorite tools after the sponsor.
Absolutely.
Attention Tribers. Plant Powered Marketing is your cutting-edge marketing agency specializing in SEO, Google My Business, website development, and many other strategies that get you ranked #1 on Google. We're your go-to marketing agency for businesses who want to see real, tangible results from their online presence. Our team of experts has years of experience in getting businesses to the top of Google and generating leads through effective online marketing campaigns. Remember to let us build your next website. Contact us if you want to outrank the competition. Plant Powered Marketing, 971-570-0511 or plantpoweredmarketing@gmail.com.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that, Plant Powered Marketing. All right, Kathleen. Now I know that behind the curtains, we have tools we work with that we absolutely love. Mm-hmm. There's tools that we've gotten that we just don't understand why they were sent to us, because they don't make sense. Now, I don't know, I can't tell you 100% if I know your brand loyalty to certain things, but if you are, then that's totally okay. But is there a favorite tool that you have? Do you truly have a brand loyalty where you're at now? Because you have a lot of success in this.
Okay, so I will be completely transparent and honest. And I catch a lot of crap for this. I do not have a brand loyalty, and neither does my husband. And I'll tell you why, because no brand makes the best of everything. I feel like There are a lot of like, for well, instance, we'll use Milwaukee because everybody loves Milwaukee, and it's kind of like a fan club, for instance, where if you post something on Instagram that's not red, the fanboys, they come after you and they come after you hard. But and that's okay. Milwaukee makes a great product. I'll use the pack out, for example. There are Instagram pages dedicated to just pack out stuff.
There's Toyota Tacomas dedicated to Milwaukee packouts, if you know what I'm
Yes, I
saying.
mean, it is a cult following and people love it and they will fiercely defend that brand, and that's cool. I applaud them. But for somebody, and I'll say this, my husband and I are very, very fortunate that we are able to get our hands on all types of brands, all types of price points. So we're able to see what's really great, what's it's okay, and then what's not so great. And like I've said, previously, no brand makes the best of everything. So I am always team best tool for the job. We have Milwaukee, we have DeWalt, we have Flex. And for those of you that don't know, my husband and I work very, very closely with Lowe's, and Flex is a Lowe's exclusive brand. And I like Flex. I like their product. I do not love their marketing campaigns, and I'll be honest about that. But I think, with the stack pack that Flex has recently come out with, I think it's a great product. I think that there's a lot of potential. They don't have all the accessory options right now, only because it's brand new. And I know that's like a big argument with a lot of pack out people. I think if we give them time to get there, they definitely will. Um, but that's the thing, is going back to, we're very fortunate. And I use this argument because I'll tell you what, we did that video that you mentioned with all the different organized containers, all the systems. We did Rigid, we did Flex, we did DeWalt, we did Milwaukee, just to kind of see, side by side. Because, oh, and Ryobi, excuse me, had that one too, which Ryobi was a no-go for me. I'll say that. But it just, you get to see everything together. And like, for people like us that we have a fleet of trucks, we can do a whole system and pack out and have pack out drawers and every accessory possible. We can also do another truck and completely flex. We have the ability to do that. And I think that sometimes people forget that when they, go after people like you and me on Instagram, thinking like, oh, well, it's this or that. Like, no, I've been able to see it all and then actually make a fair assumption, because there's a lot of people on the internet that'll say something sucks when they've never, in fact, actually touched it in real life. So I feel like that goes a lot into it. But no brand loyalty here. I like what's good. Everything is not great, but every brand makes something great.
Yeah, that's a really smart approach in the industry where we're at. We're influencers, we're ambassadors. I hate the term influencer, but that's just the way it is,
I
the Ryobis, like I said, I'll talk all the shit I want because I don't really care. But Ryobi looks like a Lego, but they're
yeah,
built. But the funny thing is, a lot of people don't actually know who owns Ryobi, like the
That
main parent
exactly. It's a
company.
TTI brand, and when you say
Yes,
that and you're like, "Well, actually, like, TTI makes Ryobi, they make Rigid Power Tool, and they make Milwaukee," and they're like,
yeah.
their minds explode, but,
But the
you
one thing
know
that you and your husband do that I love is you put the price point. That's
Mhm.
important.
Oh,
I've
absolutely.
talked to Flex. I'm trying to get on the Flex team. I really do like their
Mhm,
products. They seem
mhm,
like a very Flex reminds me of my dad. And he's not a tradesman anymore. Unfortunately, he's not able to work, with what he has.
mhm,
But my dad was a Makita guy.
mhm,
I grew up with Makita calendar girls,
mhm,
Makita posters in my garage. There was not a tool that wasn't Makita,
mhm,
and I feel like Flex is on their way. Like, I've seen
mhm,
their systems, their radio, their batteries.
mhm,
There's a lot of things. I also like, Bosch. Like, their
mhm.
freak drill it's
Yeah,
pretty amazing, you
mhm,
know? Um, Hart is making its way out there, but it's like, well, do you know who owns Hart? Do you know, like, and like
mhm.
you and I know because we're not, we're in this realm.
Yeah, you do gain a different perspective being on this side of the fence. And like with Flex, a lot of people don't know, but Ego makes the Flex batteries. And when you talk about battery platforms, Ego is superior. Like they are the best in the battery game. And so when you're talking about, battery length, you're talking about amperage and amp hour and strength, like it's right up there. And so you have to take that into account, when you look at brands like Flex, is it's not just okay, it's this new brand, because I get it. Like a lot of people, and this is where I think Flex is a wonderful product. Like I've touched almost all of their stuff, and I think they have a solid product. Where I think they fall short is, and I'll say this, and they probably will not like me for it, but it's okay because they don't talk to me. Lowe's actually does, but I think they fall short with their marketing campaigns is when they do these side-by-side comparisons. Like, as contractors, do we really care if the impact is 2 seconds quicker than the other one? Are you gonna switch battery platforms because this one's a second quicker? No, I think you need to be focusing on other things. Or like, for instance, Flex is a little bit cheaper, even though their product is comparable to Milwaukee. And I
It's
think that
very comparable.
it's accessible for, apprentices getting into the job. You have guys starting out and they're trying to build their tool bag, they're trying to build their service trucks. And so when you have a price point that's a little bit more approachable for the guy that or the girl that just got into it, I think that's what we need to be talking about, and that's how we need to be selling it. And I think a lot of people too, when they look at new brands like Flex, they think, oh well, if the influencer, and I know I hate that word too, but like people like you and me, we talk about it on our channels, we're telling them that all of their other stuff is crap. Like nobody's saying that. There can be multiple good brands. And the wonderful thing about having multiple good brands is that it keeps all of these other brands competitive. And so
Yeah.
they're not complacent. And so they're having to be innovative. They're having to come out with new stuff to compete with each other. And that is good for us as the consumer.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
it's
think it's a good
100%.
thing.
Well,
I
like
think a lot of people get up in arms about it, but it's a good thing.
I could be wrong. You may have more understanding on it, but I really think that DeWalt had let's talk pack out. Let's talk
Mhm,
all the storage box things. Like that's a huge thing for us
mhm,
contractors. There's a lot of good things about it. There's a lot of bad things. I've had a lot of
mhm,
guys tell me their Milwaukee shit got stolen. Well, no
mhm,
shit.
mm.
Like it's gonna get
Yeah,
stolen.
yeah.
But about when I started my business, the first 5 jobs were to buy tools. I'll be
Mhm,
honest, I bought all Ryobi. I had
mhm,
one Milwaukee set or a Makita set that my dad gave me. He gifted me. Like I think the set I have is from 1996 when I was in high school. I'm
mhm.
old. I just dated myself, but it still works. It does
Yes,
the
it
job.
works.
It works. And my Ryobis kept going out, and I hired an HVAC guy. He came over. He installed our water heater, electrical, because I
Mhm,
didn't want to mess with it. And my wife was like, "What kind of drill does he have?" I'm like, "Oh, that's Milwaukee." And she's like, "Well, why
mhm,
don't you buy one of those?" I showed her the price point,
mhm.
and she's like, "Oh, don't."
Oh.
Yeah. But then so I had said to her prior to this conversation, I said, "Hey, next time my tools go out, I'm jumping." And she's like, "What is
Mhm,
that?" And you know what that means? Like, I'm jumping brands because I had explained like, "Hey,
mhm,
I'm all Ryobi, so all 30 tools I have are Ryobi battery based."
mhm,
That's an important faction. So with that, I jumped to Milwaukee. I love it. There's a lot of weird, quirky things. I think they're a very heavy
mhm,
tool for me on a
mhm.
ladder 30 feet in the air. That's a heavy
Yeah.
drill.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
very heavy drill. I want to be light. I'm already carrying 200 and something pounds
Mhm,
up a ladder. I don't need the extra. But back to the DeWalt Milwaukee thing is DeWalt had a roll pack out years ago. I mean, I've
mhm,
had it for a while and like
mhm,
clipped in. It's very old. All my clips are
mhm,
broke. It doesn't stack. Then Milwaukee came and made their pack out.
mhm,
Now DeWalt has a new one. Husky has one.
mm.
And
Yeah.
you're right. If you didn't have these different brands, it's like, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Audi, whatever your jam car is, whether, whatever your work trucks are. My father-in-law was a miner. He drove a specific type of work truck for years. He's like, I don't want the other brand because
Mhm.
of XYZ. It's
Yep.
the same thing in the tool world. Like, don't
Exactly.
don't buy a tool. And this is coming from an influencer and I agree with you. Flex, your marketing's horrible. Contact me because y'all need some help.
You're
Like,
right.
I get the lows.
I have notes.
I've already talked to them like 3 times, and I'm like, "Listen, like, y'all are missing it." You know, I
Mhm.
know Milwaukee is very specific with who they choose. They need to be. There's a
Mhm.
lot of money that gets spent. I don't know if you've heard of the company called Steth Mounts. I think you may have,
Mhm.
but they make mounts for almost every company that has a drill.
Yep.
You know, they'll jump on the Flex, they'll jump on the Bosch. But in time, that's what is beautiful about the tool game is like, 1, pick something because you can afford it. Don't go broke on
Mhm.
tools. You're just doing yourself a disservice in the trades.
Mhm.
Pick something. Jump ship later on. You know, my Ryobis that I have, when I had employees and I was running my business, for me, I wanted all my painters to have a few things, drills and sanders. If
Mhm.
they came to my job site, didn't have it, $99 drill, $50 sander, 2 batteries, I bought them for every employee.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go drop $400 on a Milwaukee or, you know, 350 for the Flex, but it's important that you have tools and you know how to work them. Um, with that being said, has there been a tool that you and your husband or you specifically have gotten that you're like, "Wow, this is fucking awesome?"
S well, I mean,
Do you
there's been
have,
a
like, an actual favorite tool? Like, everyone's like a drill, but obviously, like, that, you know.
Um, the Festool oscillating multi-tool is pretty sweet. Now, I will say this, nobody sent that to us. Brent actually we purchased. You'd be shocked at how much tools we actually do purchase
Tell the
out of our.
truth, we all buy a lot of our own tools, right?
Yeah, we do. I mean, well, and here's the thing about Brent is that he is super, super impatient. So a lot of these companies would send him a lot of things, but he doesn't want to wait. So he'll go ahead and buy it, and then the company will send it to him. So we'll end up giving it to, one of our crew members. We've been very fortunate that all of our trucks are stocked with the very best. And when we have guys come and work for us, we're able to outfit them pretty well and gift them with good stuff because we want our guys to have quality tools. And I wanted to make an addition to what you were saying about, you need to invest in your tools and you don't have to go buy the very best. But I will say this, don't go to Harbor Freight either. Like get somewhere in the middle. Don't go baseline because you're going to buy something like that at Harbor Freight. And I know a lot of people might come at me, but just my opinion. But if you're going to go and buy something, do buy something that doesn't have to be the very best. You don't have to buy Milwaukee, but don't buy Harbor Freight because you're just really throwing money out the window at that point. And you do want to invest in yourself so that you're able to build and that you're able to have quality things over, just having, I guess, quantity, so to speak.
Yeah. No, have you, I'm glad that you said that. A lot of people are mistaken, like, "Oh, these companies sent" no, I buy a lot of my fucking shit. I
Mhm.
do. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, if you wanna get into the game, it's not easy. It's a
Mhm.
lot of time. I mean, you and I talked about it before, like, how much time would you say, like, on
So
videos? You spend a lot of time. I mean, you have
so
a film crew though, don't you?
well, yes and no. So it's kind of two-sided. So the Tool Pros, within the last 2 years, has actually become its own business. So now we're an LLC. We're an actual business, which has become my full-time job managing the Tool Pros brand. And that's kind of an umbrella. Brent and I have our two podcasts, and then we have our social channels, and we have our Miracle Mechanical project, which is where our film crew comes in most of the time. Now, we do bring our film crew in for big projects like Brent just did Contractor Clause with Lowe's, and we wanted a more professional level of, film and the editing. So we did bring them in. It was a bigger budget. But for, just the average Instagram post, it's mostly just Brent and I with our iPhones. And the great thing about, technology is now that iPhones are so good, like we went out a couple years ago and bought a Canon 90D, and we were like, oh, we've got to have this good camera. We've got a GoPro, we've got this and that. We don't use any of it because your iPhone is as good as it gets. And in terms of making content, you want accessibility. And I mean, we spend a lot of time making content, and I tend to be more nitpicky about it. Creatively speaking, Brent will be the first to tell you that if he shoots something by himself, he's like, yeah, that's good. Okay, let's wrap. One time we're good. Me, not so much. I like, certain things to be a certain way, and then I'll look at it and go, I don't like that. Let's reshoot that. And so it is a little bit lengthier, but it's a lot of time and effort that we put into creating content that I don't think people realize. And then, Brent and I, not only just sharing tools and things like that, like we share our entire lives. So it's not just the tools, it's not just trade related things. We talk about our kids, we talk about our marriage, we talk about, just everyday life things that we try to bring our followers along with us.
And that's important to you guys. So before last year when I stopped everything, that was one thing that I realized I wasn't doing. I wasn't being personable.
Hmm.
You and Brent are very personable. You get to see your personality. You get to see the um just the cohesiveness that you two share together. And I would, those are listening to this podcast. Like if you're like, hey, I want to get into the game, that is one thing that's important. That's one thing I've actually had brands tell me, like, we don't know who you are.
Hmm.
You're just this dude that posts videos. Like, yeah, that's who I am. But like, it's important because I think you guys, well, I don't think I know, you guys relate to the blue collar world. You relate to, as you said, the women who may get their nails done or, who have,
Hmm.
want to go to the salon. Like I saw on my Alexa that my wife has a hair appointment, like that goes and gets the hair done. Like
Yeah.
you're welcoming that, saying, hey, I'm doing all these things because I care about me. And I think that's
Hmm.
one thing going back to the, you being the OG of like tool women in this world is like, you've never shied away of like, hey, I care about me, so I'm gonna present myself the way that I want to be, which is the way it should be, not what people
Yeah.
think you should look like. And then now you've also shared your relationship. You guys are out there. You guys are doing the tools. You said something. I know you got to run, and I got to run too. But you said something on your mechanics. What is that? Can you give us a little background about what that is? What that
So,
is?
at one point I wanted to touch on for what you were saying is that, it's very important that for Brent and I both, when we are interacting on social media or with our podcast is, we eventually meet these people in real life, and we don't ever, ever, ever want anyone to say, oh, well, you're really different in real life, because that happens a lot. The personality and who you're trying to portray on social media can be very different than the person you are in real life. And so with Brent and I, if he sees someone in the supply house, if I see someone out and about, if we see someone at a trade show, we want to be the same people that you see when you open your app. And that's been something that we've really tried to maintain, that authenticity, throughout the process. But in regards to Miracle Mechanical, that is our little kind of, it's our baby, so to speak. It's become my baby. It's become a very large part of what we do with the Tool Pros. So back in January of 2021, this is, I tell this story all the time. Brent and I were just having one of these conversations. We're always talking about, what's next for us? What is the next business move? What's going to be, that next thing? And he was like, all the free tools are cool. I like the trips. I have all these relationships. I have this platform, but what am I doing with it? He's like, I want to give back. I want to do something that really just means something. I want to put some good into the world. And we kind of started brainstorming on how we could do that. And it was really with what Brent knows best, and that's HVAC and plumbing. And so we kind of started doing some, minor planning. We went too rigid with kind of a budget plan, and we were like, hey, would you like to give us some money? We want to go and do a repair for a homeowner in need, and we want to film it. And that's our idea. And Rigid was generous enough to have some faith in us, some blind faith, and go, yeah, okay, here, we'll take you up on it. And we did. And that was 2 years ago. We've completed 6 projects. We partnered with companies like Lowe's, RLS, Viga, Rigid, Odie. We recently did one with AHR Expo, where we went into a local high school here in Atlanta, and we were able to upgrade their HVAC lab. But countless times we've been able, that was a little bit of a different project, but for the most part, we like to focus on individuals or families that are in need, because we truly believe that having clean water and having HVAC in your home is a necessity. It's not a luxury. And it's something that I know a lot of people, including myself, you take for granted when you turn your faucet on and there's water coming out. Like, you don't think anything of it. You turn your thermostat on if you're cold or if you're hot. But there are a lot of people that don't have that. There was one lady that we did work for. She had old galvanized 1960s pipe throughout her home, and she was on a fixed income. She had taken care of her mother who had cancer. She wasn't able to work, and she was just in a really tough spot. And she just had trickles of water coming out. Not only to mention that the little water that was coming out, she couldn't drink. It was making her sick. So we went in and we repiped the whole home, and we're able to do these major repairs at no cost to the homeowner because we have corporate sponsors. And what we do in return for them is we film everything, and then we take that, we edit it and make it look nice. We promote it on our social channels as well. But then the company also has this nice little marketing piece for them. So everybody wins. And we're able to do something really good for a family that needs it.
Oh, that's beautiful, Kathleen. That's
Mhm.
it's very it's keeping blue collar roots to the roots by giving
Mhm.
and sharing your skill set. And um that's amazing. So where can people right now, for those that don't know, they're new to you, or they've heard of you but don't know you, what are your socials where people can find you guys?
So we're real easy to find. You can find me on Instagram at Toolwife or on TikTok, Toolwife. But our main channel is Tool Pros, and you can find that. It's Tool Pros, one word. Well, actually, I guess that's technically two words, but it's two words together,
Yeah.
on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And you can also see all of our Miracle Mechanical jobs on both of those channels as well. We also have 3 podcasts that you can listen to basically anywhere you listen to podcasts: the Tool Wife podcast, the Tool Pros podcast, and our latest, the Plumbing School podcast as well. So, yeah, check it
Nice.
out, y'all.
Busy. And Blue, like I said,
Yeah.
I've been trying for weeks to get you on. You're one of the most busy people I've ever met, which is good. I hope I can meet you guys at a trade show coming
Yeah,
soon. I know
absolutely.
the season's coming, COVID's over,
Mhm.
we're gonna be out. I know I'll be
Yep.
at the Vegas show, and then got asked to be to some other ones, but
Yeah, we'll be at National Hardware Show, and I guess it's technically January, but February,
yeah.
and
Oh,
we'll
nice.
be out there. So yeah, for sure,
Well,
we'll
we'll
have
be out
to
there
meet
too.
in
Are you
person
guys
for sure.
Is it your podcast that's going out, or is it
No, so NHS has invited Brent and I to be their personal guest, and we will be at their, I guess, influencer
yeah,
summit that
okay.
they are rolling out this year. So we'll be there, but you can come hang out with us. I believe we'll be. I'll let you know, but we have like a certain time slot, I think on Tuesday, where Brent and I will actually be doing an onstage presentation, which I am extremely terrified about because, fun fact, I am not a, public speaking person at all.
It's amazing how you look at life when you're not in front of the microphone. I'll say
Mhm,
that. Like, I'm very out there all the time, but yeah, it is. You'll like it. This will be my second time there. It's a great tool show.
mhm,
It's great. You guys will kill it. The audience, the energy of the trade shows are there. And if you're in the trades, if you're in Vegas, because that is in Vegas this time,
yeah,
if you're in Vegas, it's a great show to go to. If you're a tool creator,
mhm,
that was one of the episodes I recorded today. She's gonna bring her new tool there. It's great. It's a
awesome.
great atmosphere. It's good to meet people that you see on the gram, or as you say, open your app and
Yeah,
you
for
see them
sure.
there.
That's the
So
best part is going to these shows is meeting the people that you talk to all the time. I joke with Brent and I'm like, "They're our internet friends." But
yeah,
yeah, no, it'll be a good time.
yeah. My wife says I have a lot of meta friends. I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, you have a lot of people in the meta world. I'm like,
The
yeah. She's
meta
like,
world.
what about in real life? I'm like, my real life friends and I go fishing, and
Right.
we tube the river, take a 12 pack, and
Well, that's funny.
sit
It's like
in the river and
I
drink.
I think Brent and I think a lot of people think Brent and I have, like, a lot of friends. We're actually Brent and I are it. Like, I say all the time, like, he's my best friend, and it's like, that's who we hang out with. So when we go to these events, it's like, "Oh, there's other people in the world." It's a
Yeah,
nice change.
I know that. Well, Kathleen, it has been a pleasure. I know you have to run. Keep kicking
Yeah,
ass. Go listen to our podcast. Give her some love. Give her a follow. Tell her Splash sent you. I do appreciate it, and I hope we can have some more conversations. I loved it. I want to break down some tools with you as well.
yeah.
But it's been a pleasure. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me. It was awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks.